several questions about sodium. One is asking, is it okay to have low sodium chips? They're 3A. Another person asking, you know, on average, how much sodium should a person be having per day? And then there's also questions about um, what seasonings do you suggest when people are trying to limit sodium? So all those are kind of together
Yeah.
covering sodium.
Yeah, I'm seeing definitely a big trend with sodium here today, which is great. I mean, I think it is something that a lot of people kind of assume, like, oh, I just know to cut out salt and that's it. But it's a bit more nuanced than that, right? Okay, so let's do like a really quick kind of like run through of sodium. So, sodium is an electrolyte and it's a very important electrolyte. Our body needs it. The challenge for kidney disease is how the kidneys are able to get rid and balance sodium. So, the sodium recommendations for how much sodium you should eat in a day as a kidney patient is under less than 2,300 milligrams, 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day, which is just a little bit, about a teaspoon of salt per day. And the lower recommendation, the lower end is around 1,500 milligrams for people who have, let's say, congestive heart failure or who have a lot of edema, a lot of swelling. Maybe they have more salt sensitivity. So 1,500 milligrams would be a more strict sodium regulation. Going below that, not necessarily helpful or beneficial because, again, your body still needs the salt. It's just the matter of, how is it balancing the salt? So anytime that you can find a product that you like that has a low sodium option or even a reduced sodium option, those can be good ways to just easily cut back on the salt because it's not the salt shaker. It's not the salt that we're just sprinkling on our food that's causing problems. It's the salt from the packaged stuff that we buy. And convenience foods that are packaged and made for us, like they're convenient. They're very handy in a pinch. So it's not that we should just eliminate all of them, but let's make more mindful choices of the ones that we do have. And a lot of grocery stores have multiple options of chips, for example. There's not just like one bag of chips that we're all getting. So you can compare a few of the kinds of chips that you like and then find the one that has the least amount of salt that you're still going to enjoy. I don't want you to, it's not something like for canned beans when somebody says, oh, I'll do like no salt added canned beans. If you've ever tried no salt added canned beans, yeah, it's not you're not going to enjoy that. You're going to add the salt in anyway. So I say go for the low sodium. Go for the low sodium or do the regular and then rinse and drain them because you're going to get rid of like a third to half of the salt just by doing that. So you can still have some salt in your diet, and that's going to be those are going to be ways to include it. It's just a matter of kind of picking and choosing where you want your salt to come from. And another trick that I've taught some clients too, it's a really quick trick when you're looking at a nutrition label, compare the calories to the sodium, just those numbers. So the calories, because it's both per serving. And if the number of calories is lower than the number on the sodium, consider it a higher sodium food because we're looking on average about 2,000 calories per day and about 2,000 milligrams of sodium is a great goal. So if you're getting not a lot of calories, but you're getting more sodium, you're going to hit that sodium target way faster. But if you get your calorie goal and you don't hit that many milligrams in sodium, you're going to be a lot safer there. So hopefully that makes sense. But I found that that's kind of just an easy trick to just compare those two numbers. Which one is bigger? Is it better in energy? Is it better or higher in sodium? So that's kind of the quick run through of sodium. And I did see another question I wanted to tack on to this because it is related to, and that's the one from Chandler who asked about low sodium levels. Because that's another really interesting part. Now, this is where it gets even more confusing. So, the sodium in your renal panel lab, for example, it's not about the salt that you're eating. This is about the salt balance in your body. But it also isn't really related to just the salt you're eating because your body keeps and your kidneys keep a tight regulation on that sodium level. If a sodium level in your blood test results is down, if that's a low sodium level, it's more likely than not, it's related to your fluid balance. And the way that I explain it to clients is think of it like making Kool-Aid. You have your packet of Kool-Aid and it comes, I haven't made Kool-Aid since I was a kid. So I think it's like a cup of sugar and then like a gallon of water, something like that. I could be way off, but we know that Kool-Aid has this recipe, right? The packet of Kool-Aid, the sugar, the water. If you were to do the packet of Kool-Aid and the sugar and do 2 gallons of water, you're not going to have the same taste. It's going to be diluted. And that's kind of what's going on with the lower sodium, is that you have this amount of sodium, but it's in more water. Okay. And so there's different ways that it can be addressed, whether it's being more careful with fluids, like maybe your body's not able to get rid of the fluids well. And it could be related to dietary sodium if you're truly eating like under 500 milligrams per day of sodium. That might be the case, but it's more likely than not that that's not what's happening if you're eating fine. So all of that to say, just because your sodium and your blood test result is low, it's not a eat more salt to solve the problem. It's a talk to your doctor about what is causing this, because I know it's not low salt.
And related to sodium, someone asked, is Himalayan pink sea salt okay? Is one salt better than the other? I'm going to kind of summarize it as that, because that's always a question that pops up. Which salt is best?
And you know what? The ones that are best are the ones that have the marketing companies that somehow get in front of us and they tell everybody like, hey, this is the one you have to have. No, salt is salt is salt. It doesn't matter the color. It doesn't matter the location. There's Celtic salt. There's I don't know. There's so many. There's Fleur-de-Sel. No, salt is salt is salt. Okay. So whatever you want to use it within moderation. And I know it's everyone's least favorite word, moderation, but really that's the case. Like if you're going to eat a vegetable and you're like, this tastes good with a sprinkle of salt, like then use a little bit of salt on that vegetable, because you're getting the vegetable and you're making it enjoyable. So, use what you like in moderation, pay closer attention to the salt that already comes in the packaged stuff that you're purchasing.
Now, this one is slightly related to sodium, because I always warn about sodium with these things. Alexis asked, are Boca burgers and chicken burgers okay? Their GFR is 16. I'd also like to tack onto that, what about like those Impossible burgers? They're plant-based. So does that mean they're great for me?
Yeah, there's so many like vegetarian/vegan burger substitutes out there now. And ultimately, some of the things that I look at for those, there are some that are okay, but it goes back to the sodium. It does go back to that, because they are finding something to be palatable. They're finding something to be really tasty and something that people would actually say like, oh, forget the regular cheeseburger. I want the Boca burger. Like they're trying to make it as tasty as possible, which comes with adding salt. There's other flavors that can be added too, but really salt is what they typically will add more of. So again, I would recommend doing that comparison of the sodium for the calories to see how much sodium are you getting for the energy that it's giving you. And you're probably not going to find one. I know we have them because we've posted it before. We've had some that are like, okay, these are better options. I would say, go with the one that you're like, what, I like this one. It tastes good. If it has some fiber in it, that's great. And then think of like all the other stuff you can add to the burger, stack on some layers of lettuce and tomato and onion, even some like ketchup and mustard and some mayo too. Like you can add some of this other stuff, but don't think just because they have a label of plant-based that it automatically makes it a better choice. They're swapping things out. In some cases, they're adding the less healthy fats. They're adding the fats that are worse for our cholesterol levels. They're worse for our heart health. They're, again, adding more sodium. So it's not just like, oh, it's vegan and therefore it must be better for me. There's a lot more nuance to it. So take a look at the nutrition labels. You're going to bug some people when you're like standing in the freezer aisles comparing. But, ultimately, you want to make sure you feel good about what you purchase. And just take a look at it and see, or check what's in your fridge or your freezer right now and see what you find.
It's pretty shocking when you look at like the Impossible burger. I believe it was 600 and something milligrams per patty. Boca
Mhm.
burgers, I just looked it up. They're 390 to 450. That's quite a bit just for the patty. Then you got to think of the
Right,
bread is adding more
right.
sodium.
Yeah,
Um,
and a hamburger bun is going to provide you probably close to the 400 milligrams of sodium there. So you're looking at about half of your day, or yeah, you're looking at a really good chunk of your sodium taken up there.
yeah, and once you've kind of used up your daily sodium allotment, it's hard to find something to consume that doesn't add sodium. Now, Busy
Hmm.
Bee, I want to bring this up. She mentioned some things like Mrs. Dash has many seasoning blends. Also, lime. I love lime, lemon and lime.
Hmm.
Some of my favorite things to add to just add some flavor without packing on like sodium.